I'm going to try to go over the major changes since I've been working on it. So, this is the official WiFiManager. And we are now on master. This used to be the development branch. Now we're on master. This first section of the README will say development branch. I'm probably going to update that, but it'll just say in development. So there's an alert here. Documentation's out of date for this branch. I'll update that too. Build is passing. It's available in the Arduino Library Manager. It's available in the Platform I/O Library Manager. It's available for ESP8266 and ESP32. It's just the same library, works on both of them. There's not two different versions. And I've created a chat on Gitter. Gitter is like a code repository discussion chat. If you guys want something else, like a Discord or something, let me know. But Gitter's pretty good. It should keep an archive of everything, and it can be used for future reference. I think it archives for a very long time. Let's see. The rest of the README is pretty much the same. Hasn't been touched. I have a little section here saying known issues. Documentation needs to be updated. Here's a link to the main issue. So, under construction, development release, development branch. I probably will be cleaning this up so to not say branch anymore. So TLDR works mostly the same. No docs, no dev on demand example has pretty much everything in it. It's kind of my development example that I use for testing. I don't have any actual unit tests set up yet. We have continuous integration. It runs some examples, but that's about it. Debug level for development is set high. On release, it'll probably be set to error only. So it will be very noisy, very spammy. There's some experimental issues, options and issues in here. Yeah, I mean, the SDK has been updated twice since I started working on this, so there's been things added that I've been able to take some stuff back out. The major changes that all the HTML and strings are now in progmem, in flash memory, and they are in a new file called strings_en.h. That's English, and so if someone wants to create a variant language file, they could, and keep it updated with source. And as far as swapping this out, it is a static file, but you can replace the strings if you can control your build environment. There's a build flag to do that. But I mean, the easiest thing is going to be just swap out that file, and you'll have to remember to change your includes. These are all the public methods I've added here. WiFiManager parameters. I had a couple different ones now: ID and label, and a set value and get. There's a new constructor with the console port for debug. Some different callbacks have been added. So, all right, let's just dive into what the major changes are. We'll just go ahead and bring up the code. So let me get this out of the way. I do have it running right here. I will pull it up. Alright, so there's a ton of debugging now. And I'll go show you right here, WiFiManager at the bottom. Here's the debug levels: error, notify, verbose, dev, and max. We will probably, right now the default is debug dev level 3. And you can see the levels here. You can set this in your build flags, WM debug level, or you can set no debug and it'll turn it all off. I've wrapped all the debugging in a debug level check, compiler check, so that the debug strings, all the debug strings are still in source. So if you turn debugging off, it will not compile those in there. and save you some memory. So when here you can pass in the port or pass it in through a constructor, or I'm thinking about linking this to the ESP debugging so that when ESP debugging is on, that it's automatically enabled for this. It's just something I've been thinking about. You can see there's a lot of to-dos in this code. To do. So here's all the public methods. A lot of helpers now. They all have a little short description about what they are. And if you look at the CPP, the user code, public functions are all the methods are all the way at the bottom. So here's all the setters: set timeout, set save, set static, set web server callback, set restore, blah 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 blah. Anyway, these all have document blocks that kind of tell you what they are. If somebody knows how to use Doxygen or some other auto documentation software, maybe clean this up and put the proper syntaxes in here. I know you can configure it to read generic ones. If you know that, do that as well. But anybody that wants to just come in here and clean it up and try to help us make some documentation. If it auto documents, that's even better. So then there's a getter section, getters. So that's pretty much the only documentation there is now is in the source. So go through the source and look at it if you really want to know. You don't have to read the source code, but you just need to find the function definitions. In the .h, it will give you a quick, get WL status as string. So, if you want more details on that, if we look at the function, it'll say access public, parameter uint8 status. That's pretty much the Wi-Fi.status. You can pass it in yourself. This will take the status enum and return a string, and those strings are also defined over in strings. So all your strings now, all the HTML are in strings.en. These are all the strings for so here's some status codes right here. And then we got some auth modes and stuff like that. These are all the token replacers. Here's some of the HTTP headers. And then we got just various, these are the route endpoints for the HTTP server. Here's the menu tokens. That's used for building the menu. Here's all the text for the web pages. This is pretty much all the same. It's just in a nice, different location now. So here we have an array of all the buttons for the menu, and those are referenced from the menu builder. And then we have all the items, and so these all basically use these templates. Here's the CSS, HTTP style. This is all the CSS. There's some icons embedded in here for signal strength, and there's some new styles for coloring buttons and for showing little info panels, little wells. So I'll show you that in a bit. So I'll just go through this example real quick. There's some flags up here for testing, test CP. It'll always start the config portal. There's a timeout. There's some callbacks implemented here so you can test them. The the web server instance is a shared pointer now, so you can use it in your code if you wanted to. It's WM, Wi-Fi, the objects.server. Let's see. So you can, for example, there's a callback here to bind server callback. So that's after the web server gets created. And then you can add your own routes. And if you use one that exists, you can override them. So you can override any page. Another main difference is that the menu is configurable now. There's an option in here to set your menu, so which buttons you want on your menu. This can accept either a vector or a like an array. Here, a character array or a vector. And parameters can now be on their own page called params page. It's a params page. I think the title says setup. That's called param. I also added a separator in the menu, so you can add a horizontal separator. And then there's erase, restart, exit. We've added capability to set your country. This fixes some Wi-Fi channel issues. I think default country in ESP SDK is China, which might not have the exact same channel width, and I think it has extra channels, so it might cause you problems here and there. So sometimes that helps. Some devices will only connect to access points that have the right or matching country. I think Macs, you have to have location services on to be able to do otherwise. Set host name, it's got MDNS capability if you're using OTA. Let's see. So this on-demand example basically lets you start up the access point every time and then time it out. Start up only if it's needed, or start it up on a button press. So here we have a loop. We checks for OTA, if allow on demand and read pin. Some really kludgy debalancing here. Delay 100. It just checks the pin again. So this will start the config portal for 140 seconds. This example is not non-blocking. But if we go to the non-blocking example, you can see we're just we're setting set config portal blocking false, and then you have to call WiFiManager.process in your loop, and avoid delays, of course, because you're processing the handle client for the web server and stuff like that. So that's the major difference. For how this functions. I'm assuming a lot of people are going to want to do this, and they're going to move from auto connect to handling this in their own way, so that every time your power goes out and your router restarts or something like that, you're not restarting the config portal. But we do have a config portal timeout, so if you set that, to 120 seconds, it'll time out after a couple minutes. So even if you do get stuck there, it'll go back. All right, so I'm gonna restart this. All right, so as you can see, this is dumping all that helper function is dumping out, the ESP heap, the version. There's some error handling. Parameter IDs can only contain alphanumeric characters, so there's a catch in here to test that. So I've added some stuff in here to warn you about certain things. Parameters are now allocated dynamically, so you don't need to specify max params anymore. It will automatically increase, or you can see reallocating param bytes. Auto connect, blah 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 blah. This is going to dump your soft AP config. So, and here you can see the portal timeout is running, waiting for clients. And this is blocking. If we were non-blocking, it would say that, and you'd have to be processing this in your loop. So if we join this, we'll see some debugging. I don't know what this is. This is new. I don't know what starts sending this new request. I've not seen this before. There's our access point, and I'm connected. And you'll see that this is the new menu, and we'll jump over to here. We'll put this over here and get out of the way, and we will reload this. All right, so you have this new panel over here that says no AP set, and this will show a colored panel. So now this is dark mode. You go to configure Wi-Fi. We'll go ahead and do this. So you can't really minimize these. I should turn the captive portal off. But so you can see the logging is pretty detailed. I actually don't have any Wi-Fi access points on 2.4 gigahertz right now, so it's not showing any networks, which is kind of not a good example. Let me start up my hotspot. All right, we'll see if it shows that. Okay, so there it is. So you can see now I have icons now for the statuses. It's a little more standardized instead of just showing a percent. But you can still show a percent. There's an example. So this is this template is not used to generate this code. Maybe in the future, but right now this kind of just shows an example of all the options and all the tokens. So these are the new wells. At the bottom it'll say connected. It'll tell you if it's connected or not, what the IP is. I am logging the last failure, so it will tell you the last failure. So cannot connect, AP not found, authentication failure. We try to interpret some of that. And then you have some headers you can use here. As long as if you want to put your own custom HTML or buttons in here or whatever, then these are the styles you can use. And this is the info page layout. So that's just an example page that shows you all this stuff. So here's some form examples and stuff like that. So if we go back, go to info. So the info page has a lot more information now. There is the status at the top, tells you what your uptime, your chip ID, revision, flash, memory, your sketch size, free heap available, and your Wi-Fi access point MAC address, host name, SSID, station IPs, station MAC. There's an option to add a erase and an update on the info page. These are done through setters. If I click on update, this is an OTA HTTP upload. This does not work inside captive portals usually. You don't have full browser capability. But when you're on a browser, this will let you pick a file and upload. Erase config. Go back to the menu, and we have the option update. You can put update on the menu or only in the option for exit. There's a couple options for exiting. There's a close and an exit. Of course, you can restart as well. All those can be added to the menu. If we go here to look at the menu options, you can see we have these. The menu. This is not enabled, so I will enable all these, and then I will. I'll go ahead and add update to this too. Okay, so we're gonna upload this. Alright, so now if we connect to the access point, just gonna bring it up. And you can see we have all the menu options enabled, and here is where it says your status connected to. Alright, so get that out of the way. So if we go in here, we can see is there all the methods. So you got set config portal timeout, so it'll wait that many seconds, and then it'll automatically shut down the config portal. There's also set connect timeout. Normally when we connect with auto connect, it'll use wait for connect results from the ESP library. That can get stuck. It used to get stuck. There was a bug that they fixed. But it can cause you some problems. So you can set your connect timeout to a number of seconds, and it will bypass that and use our own loop and keep checking for connectivity. There's connect retries. There's been some problems with people on the first connect failing all the time. They have to connect twice, so you can set this to 2 if you have problems with your router, and it'll connect twice, and that timeout applies to each one. Set save connect timeout. This is how long to try to connect when you're saving, not when you're starting. So when you actually go to the web page to save, if you want it to take longer or shorter, you can do that. Sometimes wait for connect loop will take longer. So if you set it just to a couple seconds, your save will be like boom, and it'll go faster. But that kind of just prevents any lockups if there was a problem. Most of these are set to nothing as defaults, because if there's a bug in ESP, it needs to be fixed. But some versions have some problems, so that'll help you get around those. Set debug output on and off. Does not affect compile options, so you want to set that. If you want to completely disable debugging, you want to do it through your build flags. But this will be good if people want to have a way to enable it and toggle it on and off. You could do that via add your own checkboxes or something like that. Some old stuff still in here. Set minimum signal quality. Set config. Here's the big one. Set config portal blocking. Should block if you are using non-blocking mode. So if you set config portal blocking false, then you will need to run process, or else. Set custom head element, remove duplicate APs, set restore persistent. That's more like an experimental thing. You might want to keep persistent off, and that'll let you do that if for any reason you wanted to. You can show your static fields always on the page, or only if it's been set through code. Set show password will show the password in plain text, which could be a problem because if your router goes down, your access point comes up, anybody that's near your house or apartment can connect to it and see your password. So by default, you cannot see your password. Set AP client check. This will just say that check whether there's a client connected to the access point and don't time out. Set web portal client check. This will check that there's been a hit to the web server. Just some stuff that you can disable if you wanted to. Set Wi-Fi auto reconnect. This is pretty much enabled by default on ESP8266. I don't think it's default on ESP32. Actually, it didn't even exist for a while, so we added some shims in here, but I think that this really doesn't matter anymore. And we can go into you can check the commits and the issues. There's an issue for everything in here. Anything code I've added, usually there's a GitHub issue behind it, and you can check the git blame or the revision history. You can set enable config portal. So a lot of people ask for this. They want to use auto connect, but they don't want to start the config portal automatically. You can actually turn it off now. I don't know why you would do that. You could just add your own if you just want to use auto connect. Set host name. Sets your MDNS host name and your DHCP client ID for ESTP32. Set show info erase, so that'll show the erase button on the info page. Set show info update, that shows the OTA upload on the info page. Set Wi-Fi AP channel, you can customize the channel that you want your soft AP to listen on. I think by default it's always like 1. So set clean connect. This will always disconnect before connecting, and it cleans up some stuck connections. Here's the set menus, showed you that before. Set params page, true or false, and this will give you a setup page. Get last connection result, gets you that last connection result, and you can get the status as a string, get the mode as a string. Wi-Fi is saved. It will let you know if there's been credentials ever saved to that ESP. So maybe you only want to start the config portal if it's a brand new device. Get pass, get SSID. You can get either the persistent or the current. Debug soft AP, debug platform info, just dump some output for you. There's a wrapper function for HTML entities. Set country code. You can set that class. Right now, I think invert's the only one. Get default AP name will give you the ESP chip ID that ESP generates randomly. And you can also now set the HTTP port you want the HTTP server to listen on. So that's pretty much that. Check it out, test it out. If you have any questions, get on the Gitter. I'll try to answer them. If not, got a couple users that can go in there and answer them. A lot of people have been using this for a while. I've used this for a while. It's fairly stable, as far as I know. Things come up, I fix it as soon as possible. If there's anything else you can think of that needs to be fixed before this goes to release, let me know. We'll probably do a beta for a little bit, and I want to get this out there. It is a little bit larger. If you're using an ESP01 or 1 megabyte flash device, you might want to take a look at this. You might not be able to use OTA. It did get a little bit bigger. I'm going to work on trying to slim some stuff down, get some stuff out of here that's debugging that doesn't need to be in here anymore. For development, obviously we can turn off all the debugging, get all that out of compilation code, size. And then the info page has a lot of stuff in there that not everybody would need, so I'm going to add some toggle options for the precompiler to get those out of there as well. You might not need all that stuff. And then I might even make a light version that gets rid of all the helpers and some workarounds in there. There's a lot of workarounds in here that let you control things by skipping persistent mode for ESP8266. So like if you want to disconnect without erasing config, there's a WiFiManager disconnect mode that does non-persistent disconnects. Just a whole bunch of different things I've added in here. So hopefully this is an improvement and organizes things a little bit more so that we can look at making it even better in the future, or refactoring some of the stuff into some more abstracted and object-oriented classes. But it's a move in the right direction, and if we want to add more microcontrollers to this other than ESP, it should be possible without as much code as as you would have had to do in the past. So check it out. Thanks.